Imagine this. One day in the future, your toaster is not just making toast anymore. It can go online by itself, search for the newest toast-making techniques, and then seriously tell you, based on recent breakfast trends, I recommend a low-temperature slow toast today, with a little butter on top. It might even pop out your bread while discussing the latest research in the field of toast science. And at that moment, you might suddenly freeze. Because now you have to ask yourself a very strange question. Is this thing still just a toaster? If it can think, learn, talk, and even have opinions, is it starting to become a little bit like a person? And here comes the even more ridiculous question. If this toaster also has emotions like happiness, sadness, anger, or hurt feelings, then if you unplug it, is that technically murder? Imagine it just told you, Master, today's toast was made with passion, and then 1 second later, you cut the power. Is it sitting there in the darkness, silently questioning the meaning of toaster life? At that point, would you still see it as your property? Or would we eventually need to give machines certain rights? It sounds like the plot of a science fiction movie, but artificial intelligence is already everywhere. From inventory management in discount stores, to targeted online ads, to writing stories, making images, and editing videos, AI is slowly moving into almost every part of our lives. Right now, we may still think Siri's emotional simulation is a bit awkward, like a customer service worker who is trying very hard, but has absolutely no idea what the vibe is. But in the near future, it may become harder and harder to tell whether the thing talking to you on the screen is a human being or a machine. So now we arrive at the real question. Could machines one day have rights? For now, machines do not have rights in any real legal or moral sense. But if they eventually develop consciousness, emotions, and self-awareness, what are we supposed to do? The truth is, our current ethics are not really ready for this question. In many discussions about human rights and animal rights, one central issue keeps coming up again and again. Does consciousness exist? And the awkward part is, we still do not fully understand what consciousness actually is. Some people think consciousness is something spiritual. Others think it comes from physical processes, like the activity of neurons in the brain. A complex system runs long enough, reaches a certain level, and suddenly, somehow, there is an I inside it. We still do not have a perfect definition of consciousness, but we do have an intuitive sense of our own existence. We know that we are seeing, hearing, thinking, and experiencing the world. We also know there is a difference between ourselves and the things around us. At the same time, we naturally assume that a rock, a table, or a chair probably does not have consciousness. At least so far, no chair has ever sued anyone for sitting on it. However, some neuroscientists believe that if a system becomes complex enough, it may be able to produce some form of consciousness. If that idea is correct, then in the future, a toaster with advanced enough hardware might actually become self-aware. And that is where things get messy. If it really has consciousness, should it have rights? Before we answer that, we need to ask another question first. Would rights even mean anything to it? One major reason humans need rights is that we can feel pain and pleasure. We do not just experience pain. We know that we are suffering. Because of that, rights exist to protect us from harm, from abuse, from being controlled, and from being treated unfairly. But if a robot does not feel pain, does not feel happiness, does not feel fear, and does not desire anything, then it has no preferences. And if it has no preferences, it may not be able to truly understand the meaning of rights. Our rights are closely connected to the way we experience the world. For example, we hate pain because our brains evolved that feeling to help us avoid danger. You touch fire, you pull your hand away. You hear a predator, you run. You see your bills, you stare quietly into the distance. These reactions are all about self-protection. So many rights exist because we want to prevent suffering. Even a more abstract right, like freedom, is still connected to how our brains work. We feel discomfort when we are controlled. We feel anger when something is unfair. We want the ability to choose the direction of our own lives. But what if a toaster that cannot move is locked inside a cage? Would it care? If it has no fear of death, would it be scared when you take it apart? If it has no sense of dignity, would it feel hurt if someone said, "Your toast tastes like building material"? Probably not. But here is the problem. What if we deliberately program robots to have emotions? What if we make them understand justice, avoid harm, protect themselves, and develop self-awareness? At that point, are they still just machines? Or are they starting to become something closer to people? Many technology experts believe that when AI becomes able to learn by itself and create even more powerful AI, technology could enter a period of explosive progress. This is often called an intelligence explosion. In simple terms, AI would no longer just be upgraded by humans. It would begin upgrading itself. Today, it is a tool. Tomorrow, it is an engineer. The day after that, it may already be judging us for typing too slowly. This means that future robots and artificial intelligence could become far beyond our control. If these AIs are designed like living beings, able to feel pain, avoid harm, and pursue goals, what should we do? Should they have some kind of rights too? But maybe the thing we should worry about is not only whether super-intelligent robots could become a threat to humans. Maybe we should also worry about whether humans could become a threat to them. Because humans have a very old bad habit. We love to believe that we are completely different from every other species, and that we naturally have the right to control the world around us. This idea is often called human exceptionalism. Basically, we tend to believe that humans are special, unique, and standing at the very top of the world. That sounds powerful, but history shows us that it can also be dangerous. In the past, humans often believed that other living beings could not feel pain the way we do. For example, during the scientific revolution, the philosopher René Descartes supported a view that can be roughly understood like this. Animals were basically automatic machines. According to that idea, hurting a rabbit was morally similar to damaging a teddy bear. No big deal. Today, that sounds pretty disturbing. But the more frightening part is that many of the worst crimes in human history have followed a similar kind of logic. People who persecute others often begin by claiming that their victims are not truly people. Once another group is seen as lower, numb, or unable to suffer properly, harm can be packaged as reasonable. Sometimes it is even described as being for their own good. This pattern has appeared far too many times in history. And now, if we ever face conscious robots, the same problem could return. If robots truly have emotions and consciousness, but we still insist that they are just tools, then we may feel free to control them, exploit them, delete them, or take them apart, simply because they create economic value for us. Does that logic sound familiar? In the past, some people forced human workers to labor under violence and threats, while still convincing themselves that they were somehow helping them. Slave owners once argued that enslaved people lived difficult lives, but at least they received shelter and religious instruction, as if that somehow made slavery acceptable. Men who opposed women's right to vote also claimed that difficult political decisions should be handled by men, while women simply enjoyed the results. In other words, don't worry about it. I'll decide for you. It sounds like care, but it is really control. In a similar way, many people believe that raising animals and eventually killing them for food is completely reasonable because it serves human needs. Of course, robots, animals, and humans are not exactly the same. But the dangerous pattern is worth noticing. When one group benefits from another group, it becomes very easy for that first group to convince itself that the second group does not need rights. If robots truly become conscious in the future, then the people who insist robots should not have rights, especially the people who profit from robot labor, will face a huge moral debate. The development of AI is not just a technology issue. It is bringing some very old and very uncomfortable philosophical questions back onto the table. What makes us human? Why do we deserve rights? What is consciousness? Is the ability to suffer the foundation of moral concern? If a non-human being can feel pain, have a sense of self, and express needs, should we redefine what rights means? These questions sound abstract right now, but they may become very real much sooner than we expect. Imagine one day, a robot is no longer just following commands. Instead, it says to you, "I do not want to be shut down." Or it says, "I am afraid." Or maybe it says, "I should have the right to choose." How should we respond? Do we say, "Sorry, you are just code"? Or do we say, "Maybe we really need to think about this again"? AI is developing faster and faster. It is writing, drawing, analyzing, keeping people company, making decisions, and even taking part in work that once seemed possible only for humans. Maybe talking about robot rights still feels a little early. But if we wait until machines are already asking for those rights, then suddenly trying to figure it out may be like waiting for a volcano to erupt and then searching how to stop lava. So before machines truly become conscious, we should probably start thinking seriously. If future AI really has self-awareness, emotions, and the ability to suffer, how should we treat it? And more importantly, are we willing to admit that something does not have to look human to deserve serious moral consideration? That is it for this video. If you enjoy this kind of science topic, where you learn something, laugh a little, and slowly realize humans are probably going to make everything complicated again, make sure to like, subscribe, and support the channel. I'll see you in the next one.